Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Samantha Lee, and today I'll be talking about the reflection for this week, which is week 7 on the flipped classroom. Now, what exactly is a flipped classroom? You have to really think about it, because a lot of people will probably think, oh, a flipped classroom, maybe an upside down classroom? Or some people might think, does that mean you have to flip your tables over? What is the flipped classroom? Now, jokes aside, we all know for a fact the flipped classroom does not refer to the classroom in a physical sense, but it refers in the way which teaching happens in class. Before we continue on, let's actually look at the history of the flipped classroom. Now, in 2007, two teachers, Jonathan Bergman and also Aaron Sams, actually started this entire flipped classroom thing by recording videos of their own lectures to give to their students who missed out on their classes. They posted it online. All their students started to watch the videos in the comfort of their own home. Now, this is an example of what you call a flipped classroom, in which there is aspects of it online and there's also aspects of it in the real classroom. Now, to be clear, flipped classroom is an element of blended learning. It's the integration of both face-to-face learning and also online learning. As created by Bergman and Sams, it's something where you have a video and students can watch and then they can go and do their activities at home. The good thing about this is that all the classroom time now can be allocated for hands-on activities. Lecturing or teaching is all done at home at the student's own leisure, and now the student has more opportunity, time and chance to solve problems in class. It can be said that valuable time is not wasted on teaching. It is also important to note when it comes to flipped classroom and it comes to the activities in the class, a teacher here is a facilitator, not a all-knowing authority. It is only then that the student may be able to independently learn. Flipped classroom can promote personalized learning, active learning, mastery learning, and many more. Not only that, the videos can actually help the students in a sense of a student can pause the video or go back through the video if there are things that they do not understand. Now, let's look at some of the things that are needed in a flipped classroom. We already know the usual things like the desk and the table, but let's look at some specific things. First, let's look at equipment. We know that we need things like desktop, projectors, maybe the internet connection. All these are important. Students need equipment in which they can use to access the online materials. Then let's look at some platforms. There are so many platforms when it comes to online learning. Even what I'm doing now is considered online learning because I'm using YouTube. Not only that, you can use Blogspot, you can use Google Drive. There is so absolutely many platforms that teachers can go to upload their work and students can go to receive the teaching materials that the teacher has prepared. Then you have the usual learning objects, which is the PDF, the PowerPoint, so on and so forth. Now, do you remember Sam and Bergman, the teachers that were mentioned earlier before that started flipped classroom in 2007? Well, they actually have steps in which a teacher can follow so that they can have their own flipped classroom. Steps 1 to 3 is all done online, and the last step is done in class. Now, step 1. First of all, the teacher has to prepare online materials. It can come in form of video, it can come from YouTube, it also can even come from CDs or DVDs. A teacher must be well aware and well prepared before they actually create these materials or create these videos. They must ensure the quality of these videos are actually good enough for the students to see, so they would not get bored. Not only that, the video should be of an appropriate time, maybe a good 3 to 5 minutes. Now, during the second step, this is where the teachers can share whatever materials they have online. A teacher can choose from the variety of platforms online in which to share their work. It is important to note for the teacher when you're uploading the work, just don't upload the work itself. Please do include instructions for the students. For example, if you are to upload a story from YouTube, please have the instructions to tell them what they can do to prepare at home, such as summarizing the video, so that it can build a foundation in which the students can stand on when they do their activities later in class. The third step has nothing to do with the teacher, it's basically the students. So at this point, the students will have to take their own time within a set amount of time to actually watch the video. The last step will be in class. here is where the hands-on or group activities happen, and based on what was given online, the learning materials given online, the teacher will help facilitate the students in their activities. Now, why flipped classroom? What's the difference between flipped classroom and the traditional classroom? The flipped classrooms offer benefits which cannot be achieved in the traditional classroom. What do I mean by that? Well, first of all, students have all the time in the world to look through their videos, so they are not pressured into learning everything all at once. Not only that, but as mentioned before, students can actually go back into the video, rewind if they're not clear with something. Not only that, because the lecture is technically online, class activity time is maximized and the students have more time to develop their understanding of application and connection of the concept to the content that is learned that day. There are limitations to everything, and here are some of the flipped classrooms. Firstly, there will obviously be problems with certain students because they cannot adapt to this new way of learning. This is especially true for students who actually prefer to listen to the teacher and be completely instructed in the way they do things. This may be due to the fact that they themselves are not up to date when in regards to technology, or it may just be their learning style. Secondly, not all students have access to the internet. It is important to note that especially in rural areas, students may not necessarily have the internet or even know what the internet is. So sometimes when it comes to applying for flipped classroom, it becomes very difficult because at the end of the day, if the students do not have the lecture or have not watched the lecture or the lesson materials, they will not be able to do the activities. Therefore, it is important that a teacher takes these type of things into consideration before he or she actually has a flipped classroom. Okay, now we know about the limitations for students. What about the lecturers? First of all, it takes a lot of time and effort for a teacher. That will indefinitely add to the workload they already have with the paperwork and the class lessons and everything. It can be very, very troublesome for some teachers. Secondly, some teachers, they themselves may not be necessarily the best in regards to technology. What I mean by that is that, let's take for example, a teacher is trying to create a video in a classroom. The quality of the video that comes out may not be that great. Some could be blurry or audio might not be that good, and that wholly disencourages the students. It's too difficult for them to see something that they could not inherently see or hear clearly. It might actually cause the student to feel very bored and demotivated, and then they won't end up studying. As you can see from everything I said in this video, flipped classroom is a great thing. It allows students the opportunity to learn. It maximizes the time for them to learn. It will give them an opportunity to go back and look at the materials at their own leisurely pace. But there are limitations to it, and as such, it's important that a teacher really consider all these type of things before they actually go ahead with a flipped classroom. Now, personally for me, when it comes to flipped classroom, I feel I have taught in very rural schools, and that's my only concern. And a lot of these students are not very literate when it comes to a lot of technology. As per the limitations of flipped class, that can really become a problem. I'm sure there are other ways that teachers can go about. If the teacher has access to these things, I wholly encourage you to go ahead and use it. But if you don't, I don't think that you should be disheartened. I think that you should find a way to try to incorporate elements of a flipped classroom into your own classroom. Okay guys, that is basically for my reflection. Now we're going to the next part, in which I talk about link sources that I want you to look at. So guys, today I'm going to show you the 3 links for this particular video. Now the first rule is 12 rule for flipping your classrooms by e-learning industry. Now, when it comes to the flipping of the classroom, there are things that you should consider, and this article talks exactly about those things. Talks about things like starting with the tough stuff or making sure your students have sufficient broadband access. These type of things are very important for a teacher to consider before they have the flipped classroom, or the teachers to consider during a flipped classroom. Now, the second article is Classroom Management and the Flipped Class by Edutopia. Now, the concept of the flipped class is relatively new compared to the traditional classroom methods. So, it's also important that teachers know the classroom management that should come with a flipped class. Now, this article is very good because it talks about The 4 new management issues, like who gets my time, redirecting off-task kids becomes more important, freedom for some and control for others, the question changed. Now, it also includes things such as the new rules of engagement, which is important to consider, and also that the fact that in a flipped classroom, noise is good. This is a good article to read if you really want to consider having a flipped classroom, because you do have to understand that it's different from the traditional classroom and therefore it needs new type of classroom management. Now, the last one is by Faculty Focus and is on time management strategies for the flipped classroom. It is similar to the previous article, but it concentrates on time management, which I think even in the traditional classroom teachers have problem with. So with this particular article, it focuses on 3 things. The first one being on instructors when building a flipped course. The second one on instructors also, but when teaching a flipped course. And the last one is for instructors to help students manage their time effectively when they are taking the said flipped course. This article will help a teacher really think through their flipped classroom. And guys, basically that's the video for today. I think I did not record an ending for this. Again, I haven't done it in the past 3 videos. I'm so sorry, but anyway, thank you for watching my video. Please subscribe. Have a great day. Bye!